The year was 2011. Olympus Corporation, a titan in the world of cameras and medical equipment, found itself at the center of a scandal that would rock corporate Japan. It all began with Michael Woodford, a British businessman who had recently ascended to the position of CEO. A rare foreign leader in Japan's often insular corporate culture, Woodford was full of optimism and eager to make his mark on the company. However, his tenure at the top would be short-lived. Woodford's suspicions were aroused when he discovered a series of questionable acquisitions and exorbitant advisory fees paid to obscure entities. Concerned, he began to dig deeper, unearthing a financial abyss that the company had desperately tried to keep hidden. Billions of dollars in investment losses, dating back to the 1990s, had been meticulously swept under the rug. Determined to expose the truth, Woodford took his concerns to the board of Olympus. He expected support, a united front against the corruption that had festered within the company for years. Instead, he was met with resistance, a wall of silence that spoke volumes. The board, it seemed, was more interested in protecting the status quo than in facing the consequences of their actions. Frustrated and disillusioned, Woodford refused to be silenced. He took his story to the press, blowing the whistle on what would become known as one of the biggest corporate scandals in Japanese history. His actions, though commendable, came at a personal cost. He was ousted from his position, his reputation dragged through the mud by the very people he had tried to hold accountable. At the heart of the Olympus scandal lay a complex web of accounting trickery known as tobashi. This scheme, which translates to flying away in Japanese, allowed Olympus to conceal massive investment losses for nearly 2 decades. The company would use a series of shell companies and inflated acquisition prices to mask the true nature of its financial dealings. The scheme worked by shifting losses to these obscure entities, making them disappear from Olympus's balance sheet. The company would then use increasingly larger acquisitions to generate the funds needed to cover up the previous losses. It was a dangerous game of financial Jenga, with each new acquisition propping up the ever-growing pile of hidden debt. One particularly egregious example involved the acquisition of Gyrus Group, a British medical equipment maker. Olympus paid an astronomical $687 million in advisory fees, an amount that raised red flags throughout the financial world. This fee, it would later be revealed, was a thinly veiled attempt to funnel money to a Cayman Islands-based fund controlled by Olympus executives. The tobashi scheme was not just complex, it was audacious in its scope and longevity. It required the complicity of numerous individuals, both within Olympus and at external auditing firms. It was a culture of secrecy and deceit, where profits were prioritized over ethics, and where those who dared to question the status quo were swiftly silenced. The fallout from Woodford's whistleblowing was swift and brutal. Olympus, initially dismissive of the allegations, found itself facing mounting pressure from investors, regulators, and the public. The company's stock price plummeted, wiping out billions of dollars in market value. Tsuyoshi Kikukawa, the chairman of Olympus and the man who had handpicked Woodford as CEO, was forced to resign in disgrace. He admitted to knowing about the cover-up, claiming that he had been trying to protect the company from the shame of its past mistakes. His confession, however, did little to quell the growing outrage. Other high-ranking executives, including the president and the executive vice president, were also shown the door. The once revered company, a symbol of Japanese technological prowess, was now synonymous with corporate greed and deceit. The scandal sent shockwaves through Japan's business community, tarnishing the country's reputation for corporate governance. In the aftermath of the scandal, Olympus faced an uphill battle to rebuild trust with investors and the public. The company implemented a series of reforms aimed at improving transparency and accountability. New leadership was brought in, tasked with cleaning up the mess left by their predecessors. The Olympus scandal quickly became an international affair, attracting the attention of regulators and law enforcement agencies in Japan, the United States, and the United Kingdom. The complex web of transactions spanning multiple jurisdictions made the investigation a daunting task. In Japan, prosecutors raided Olympus's headquarters, seizing documents and questioning executives. The Securities and Exchange Surveillance Commission, SESC, Japan's financial watchdog, launched a full-scale investigation into the company's accounting practices. The US Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, also opened investigations, as did the UK's Serious Fraud Office, SFO. The investigations revealed a long-standing pattern of fraudulent accounting at Olympus. The company had been using tabashi and other accounting gimmicks to hide losses since the early 1990s. The total amount of losses concealed was estimated to be over $1.7 billion. In the aftermath of the scandal, Olympus faced numerous legal battles and a significant loss of trust from the public. The company's journey to rebuild its reputation is ongoing, with new leadership promising transparency and accountability. The new CEO implemented stringent internal controls and a zero-tolerance policy on financial misconduct. Employees underwent extensive training on ethics and compliance, emphasizing that transparency and integrity will be the cornerstones of Olympus's future.